Game. Game tayo, ha? So for today, we're going to have financial statement analysis for insurance companies. Financial statement analysis for insurance companies. Now, what are insurance companies to begin with? How would we describe the nature of the business of an insurance company? It all has to do with the management of risk. Insurance companies have a business because they deal with risk. You may think of risk as some event in the future that may deviate from what you expected. Risk is the likelihood that a future event will not be as what you expected. Now, for the purpose of our discussion, I'm going to classify risk into two. For the purpose of our discussion, I'm going to classify the word risk into two. Okay? There can be pure risk and speculative risk. Pure risk and speculative risk for the purpose of our discussion. Okay? So what is a pure risk? A pure risk is the likelihood of something bad to happen. Okay? When we say pure risk, I'll give you an example. The likelihood that the building will be on fire. The likelihood that the house will be flooded. Okay? And will get destroyed by an earthquake, a hurricane. Okay? So when we talk about pure risk, there is no possibility of upside. Okay? It's either that something bad is gonna happen or it will not happen. Okay? There are two things that can happen. It's either that it will not happen or it will happen. Hopefully, it will not happen. Pure risk is only a downward risk. It is only a likelihood of a downward event. Downward being a negative event. So when you own a building, two things can happen. It's either that it will never be on fire or it will be on fire. Okay? The likelihood that the fire will burn the building, that is risk. Pure risk. Speculative risk, on the other hand, this is the risk with an upside. This is a risk with an upside. In a speculative risk, it's either that you're going to lose, you're not going to gain or lose, or you can even gain. In the case of speculative risk, an upside, a positive, more than positive event can happen. An example of speculative risk is when you operate a business. When you run your own business, there can be, number one, a possibility of loss. Number two, earning what you expected. Or number three, earning more than what you expected. Okay? May chance na kumita ka dito sa speculative risk. Another example of speculative risk, although it's not encouraged, gambling. When you gamble, there's a high probability you will lose, but there is a chance of success. Okay ba tayo? So for the purpose of our discussion, risk can be classified as pure or speculative. Pure risk being a chance that a negative event will happen. Speculative risk, where there's a chance that a negative event will happen, downside, or a positive event will happen, an upside risk. A deviation that is above expectation. Instead of earning only 1 million, you earned 3 million. That is speculative risk, both upside and downside. Again, pure risk, only downside. Speculative risk, both upside and downside. Now, when it comes to pure risk, this is the risk that is usually insurable. Okay? Pure risk are usually the ones which are subject to insurance. Okay? Of course, you're not going to insure yourself from excess profits. Ay, masyadong malaki ang kita ko. Ayoko ng ganun. Of course, you're not going to buy an insurance to prevent you from earning more. So, more likely, okay, I'll say 99% of the time, it would be pure risk that would be insurable. Pure risk will be insurable. Now, when we say insurable, Does it mean that we're going to eliminate the risk? Yes or no? Anyone? When we say that the risk is insurable, does it mean that we're going to eliminate the risk? Anyone? Okay, pwede naman mag-chat or mag-mic. Wait lang, may nag-chat ata. Okay, very good. The correct answer is indeed no. Okay, Mr. Motiani, thank you for answering. Now, insurable risk, when we say that it's insurable, it's not going to be eliminated. When we say that the risk can be insured, it can only be transferred. Example, when you are going to buy a fire insurance, what happens is there is still a chance that the building will be on fire. When you buy a fire insurance, there is a chance that the building will be on fire. What would happen if the building will be on fire? What would happen if the building will be on fire? Okay, you're going to lose money. You're going to lose your resources. Okay? If you buy a fire insurance, you did not eliminate the chance that it will happen. It can still happen, but who will shoulder the losses? Who will shoulder the losses? It would be the insurance company. I repeat, when it is insurable, it doesn't mean that you can eliminate the risk. It does not mean that you can eliminate the risk. What it means is that it can be transferred. So, for example, you'll buy a life insurance. For example, you'll buy a life insurance. Example lang ha, you'll buy a life insurance. What you are protecting is not really your life, but your earning potential. What you are protecting is not really your life, but your earning potential. So when you buy a life insurance, it's actually an insurance on your income, not on your life. Okay? Now, what's the problem when you die? When you die, the people who depend on you, where will they get the money? Where will they get the money to live? Okay? So that's what the life insurance is all about. So the purpose of the life insurance is that when worst comes to worst, hopefully not, you're going to die unexpectedly. There would be someone who's going to shoulder the lost income. Nawalan ka ng kita, yung pamilya mo walang makain, the insurance company will shoulder that loss. They would be the one to pay for your family's expenses. Okay? So when we say it is insurable, it can only be transferred. It doesn't mean that you eliminated the risk. Now, you are the insured. Okay? Being the insured, you transfer risk to the insurance company. And why would the insurance company accept that risk? Because you're going to pay them a premium. You're going to pay them a premium. I repeat, being the insured, you're going to transfer risk to the insurance company because you're paying a premium. The insurance company will shoulder the risk, and in return for shouldering the risk, you have to pay a premium to the insurance company. Bayaran mo sila para sila ang sasalo ng risk. Okay? Now, what happens is, there's more than one person buying an insurance policy. So, if we have 1 million people buying insurance policies, the insurance company can diversify away the risk. Diyan sa 1 million na bumili, hindi naman lahat yan mamamatay agad-agad, no? Sasaluin lang nila yung mangilan-ngilan na mamamatay agad. Okay? And in the process, they are earning premiums. They are earning income through premiums. Okay? So this is basically how insurance companies work. I hope you did understand how insurance companies work. So if you have any questions, please raise them now. Now, just like in other transactions, there is a possibility of information asymmetry. Okay? There's a possibility of information asymmetry. When does information asymmetry happen? Okay? Information asymmetry happens when the availability of info is not the same for the transacting parties. Information asymmetry happens when the availability of info is not the same for the transacting parties. So the insured person knows him or herself more than the insurance company knows that insured person. Alam ba ng tao na to kung may sakit siya? Alam ba ng taong to kung may sakit siya? More likely. But the insurance company may not know that person. Let's go to a car insurance, vehicle insurance. Now, an owner of a car who is driving it as well wants to insure the car. But the insurance company does not know what kind of a driver is this car owner. Kaskasero ba siya o maingat? Kaskasero ba siya o maingat? Okay? So, that is how information asymmetry can lead to the detriment of the insurance company. Why? Because the person who's buying an insurance, he or she knows himself or herself more than the insurance company knows him or her. Okay? Information symmetry happens when the availability of info is not the same for the transacting parties. This can lead to, as I have told you in the previous lecture on banks, adverse selection, moral hazard. This may lead to adverse selection and or moral hazard. So, there's a difference between adverse selection and moral hazard. Okay, review tayo. Adverse selection happens before the transaction. Adverse selection happens before the transaction. Moral hazard, on the other hand, happens after the transaction. Moral hazard happens after the transaction. Okay? What's adverse selection? A situation where undesirable results occur because two parties in the transaction have asymmetric info. Okay? Before the transaction. Okay? Two parties in the transaction have asymmetric information. Okay? This is before the transaction. Now, you may turn on your mic or you may type as you please. Can anyone give me an example in the context of insurance? Okay, wala bang magsasalita dyan? Okay, thank you, Mr. Domingo. Mr. no? Domingo. Okay. Yeah. Misunderstandings about the insurance plan. Okay, that's possible. But in the case of that misunderstanding, it would be favorable to the insurance company. No? Yung terms, hindi na inaral ng insured. No? While yung insurance company, mas alam niya. Okay? So, ang tawag dyan sa contract na yan, contract of adhesion. The insured company has no choice but to adhere to the contract kasi naka-standard na. So, thank you, Mr. Garcia. No? Thank you, Mr. Garcia. That is an example of an adverse selection. However, that is favorable to the insurance company. Okay? Kung may misunderstanding, pabor yun sa insurance company. Mr. Kataki, medical insurance in the case of... Okay, thank you, Mr. Watanabe. Medical insurance and not disclosing existing ailments or an increased risk of developing certain diseases. Okay, that would be a good example. This time, the insured is the one at a detriment. So no, the insured will be favored by this situation. And the insurance company will be at the detrimental side. Okay? So in the case of insurance, maybe the person has cancer and buys life insurance. This is similar to the medical insurance example of Mr. Watanabe. No? In my example here, the person has cancer and that person who has cancer buys life insurance. Bumili siya ng life insurance. So alam niyang meron siyang 2 taon na lang, hindi niya sasabihin sa insurance company na ganun yung sitwasyon. Bibili siya ng napakalaking insurance policy. Very similar to the example of Mr. Watanabe. In the case of a medical insurance, the person who has ailments already, and then hindi niya disclose, siya lang nakakaalam, bumili ng medical insurance. Okay? There are solutions to adverse selection. There are solutions to adverse selection. For example, medical and life insurance, they require medical examination before you purchase them at a certain amount. For example, I cannot remember the threshold. If the policy would reach 8 million pesos, I cannot remember if this is the correct amount. If the policy is 8 million pesos, 8 million pesos. You're forced to have a medical examination before buying. Okay? But at a lower amount, medyo maluwag sila. So a medical examination, a mandatory medical examination, may be implemented in order to deal with adverse selection so that the insurance company will not be harmed by people like this. No? Alam na nilang mawawala na sila, saka lang sila bibili. No? Of course, that is unfair to those people. Okay, kung ayaw nyo, kung galit kayo sa insurance company, bahala kayo. No? But it would be unfair to the honest people who are buying insurance even though they are not yet at risk of dying that much. Okay? Now, aside from adverse selection, aside from medical examination, to deal with adverse selection, the insurance company may require other information. Insurance company may require other information. Okay? One example of other information would be, is the person engaged in political activities? Is the person engaged in political activities? Well, of course, everybody knows that whoever is vocal is more likely to be killed, diba? So that being the case, the insurance company should know it. Okay? Other information. These are solutions to adverse selection. Now may we proceed to moral hazard. Unlike adverse selection, which happens before the transaction, moral hazard will harm one party after the transaction. This is a situation where one party takes an excessive amount of risk or reckless behavior because it knows another will bear the burden of such. This happens after the transaction. This happens after the transaction. Any example? Anyone? Example of a moral hazard in the context of insurance. Yung mga car insurance. Okay, Miss Sofia. Miss Uy, please tell me your case of car insurance. Okay, in the case. Okay, example, person 1 has car insurance. Babasahin ko lang ha kung anong itatype mo. Okay. So, very good, Miss Sofia. Kanina ba may nagsasalita? Off ata yung speaker ko. Sorry, naka-off ata yung speaker ko kanina. Kung meron man nagsalita kanina, I apologize. Okay. In-on ko na yung speaker ko. I already turned on the speaker. Okay, very good. That's my example as well. Because, kita ba sa silhouette? In the case of insurance, a person would drive his or her car carelessly after purchasing a vehicle insurance. Okay? Nung walang insurance, maingat siya. Nabigay ko na tong example na to ata last time. Kapag wala siyang insurance, maingat siya. the person would be very much concerned up to the slightest scratch on his or her car without an insurance. But after purchasing the insurance, knowing that someone else would shoulder it, someone else would shoulder the scratches, the damages, he or she may be less careful. No? He or she may be less careful. So this is an example of moral hazard. This is an example of a moral hazard. Thank you, Miss Uy. Now, can anyone give me examples of how to solve problems relating to moral hazard? Anyone? Okay, anyone, please? Okay, implementing the policy. Thank you, Mr. Watanabe. If you mind explaining it further. Thank you, Miss San Juan. Include incentives. Incentives, yeah. I know that. I know what you mean, no? But you may also expand before I speak. Okay, yes, Mr. Watanabe. Okay, in your example. Okay, when the car receives the damage, okay, an investigation. Okay. Kung totoo ba, ganun yung damage. No? Kung totoo bang yung damage. Okay. To see if the driver wasn't taking unnecessary risks. So, very good, Mr. Watanabe. Miss San Juan, no? You mind explaining further? What do you mean by incentives? You design a contract. Okay. Design a contract wherein you give incentives, sir, so the person will take care of the thing, the car. Okay, very good. In the case of car insurance, there are countries where if you are going to exceed a speed limit, the premium will increase. But if you are going to maintain a record of safe driving, no traffic violations, the premium will stay as it is. No, that would be a good incentive. So thank you, Miss San Juan. So those are examples, no, on how to solve the moral hazard. So additional examples on solutions to moral hazard is as follows. Deductible clause. Okay, deductible clause. Sometimes the car insurance company, they're going to say that whatever the damage is, minus a deductible amount, that's the deductible clause, minus the deductible amount, that is the deductible clause, that would be the amount that they will shoulder. So if the damage did not exceed the deductible amount, kunyari, yung deductible clause 5 million. Ano yun naman? Deductible clause 50,000. The damage is only 10,000. You are still going to shoulder it. No? The insurance company will only shoulder it if the damage in excess, the amount of damage in excess of 50,000, the first 50,000, that would be yours. Okay? Bakit? Why is this the case? Well, you are very much likely to be reckless on small amounts, no? You're not really going to be reckless with your life kapag sobrang damage na to the point that you're going to crash the car somewhere unless you're crazy or you hate your life. Okay? So you are more likely to be reckless on the scratches. So what the insurance company would say is that if the damage would not exceed this amount, you're still going to shoulder it. But if it does exceed, the excess will be shouldered by them. Okay? So ano ba yung mga likely damages na mangyayari? Those below 10K. As a little scratch here, a little dent there. Tama? These are very minimal amounts. So a deductible clause can be helpful to the insurance company. The insurance company will tell you, oh, if it is not going to exceed 50K, we will not shoulder that. If it is above 50K, we will shoulder anything above 50K. Just an example. Okay? So that those who are reckless for the small items, they cannot benefit from the insurance. Increased premium for certain actions, as I have told you. Ito yung incentive, no? When you are in a first world country where the record keeping of traffic violations is advanced or is very effective, there can be an increased premium for certain actions. If you have a speeding ticket, the insurance company will charge you a larger premium. The insurance company will charge you a larger premium. Okay? So, yun lang naman, no? Yun lang naman pagdating sa moral hazard. Now, who are the parties in an insurance contract? We have the insured, the person who is interested in transferring risk. Insured, the person who is interested in transferring risk. The one buying the insurance policy for his or her life. Okay, the agent, on the other hand, is someone who works usually for him or herself, selling insurances of a certain company. So the agent sells the insurance to the insured. Who is going to insure? It's not the agent. The agent is simply a seller. It's simply someone who is selling on behalf of another. The agent is just acting on behalf of the insurance company. It is the insurance company who is going to insure the insured person. It is the insurance company who is going to insure the person. Okay? Okay? So, inside the insurance company, we have what we call the underwriter. We have the underwriter. The underwriter is the one who issues the terms. Okay? Examples of a term. What is the amount of premium for a given amount of policy? Coverage. Okay? Example, if the coverage is 20 million pesos, if the coverage is 20 million pesos, how much will you be charged? Okay? How much will the insured be charged? So that's the underwriter. It would differ for male and female. Men are more likely to die earlier than women. That's a fact, right? Men are more likely to die earlier than women. Okay? Smokers will be charged higher, of course, because smokers are more likely to develop ailments than non-smokers. So the underwriter would issue the terms. The underwriter would issue the terms. Then we have an actuary who is going to do the statistics and the risk premium. The calculation aspect, which will be finalized by the underwriter, there would be an actuary who is going to statistically calculate the probability of an unfortunate event to happen. So the mathematics, the statistics, what risks to be added, what amount would be added for every risk, it will be calculated by an actuary. It will be calculated by an actuary. Then we have an insurance claims adjuster. In the event that the insured will die, and the insured made an error, on his or her age, gender, or sex, Okay? Or any status for that matter. Okay, when the insured made a mistake, so instead of telling that he is 25, he told the insurance company that he is 24. So the insurance claims adjuster will adjust for that age difference. Because the older you get, okay, the higher your premium will be. Natural. Okay? So that's the job of the insurance claims adjuster. In the case that the insured dies and there is an error made, such as the age, the appropriate amount can be adjusted. The appropriate amount can be arrived at after certain adjustments. If you overstated your age, they can increase your benefit. If you understate your age, they will decrease the amount that your family will receive, for example. Okay? So that's what the job of the insurance claim adjuster is. Do you have any questions? May question pala dito. Sorry, hindi ko nabasa. Are underwriters lawyers? Not necessarily. No. Are underwriters lawyers? Not necessarily. No. Okay. Not all underwriters are lawyers, if I'm not mistaken, no? The last time I checked. Okay. Now, I think there are no more questions. What we can do this time is to talk about the relevant ratios for financial statement analysis of an insurance company. Common ratios for insurance companies are as follows. Common ratios for insurance companies are as follows. Expense ratio. Expense ratio is the ratio of underwriting expenses over net earned premium. Think of net earned premium as the net sales revenue of the insurance company. Think of net earned premium as the insurance company's sales revenue, net earned premium. Expense ratio is the ratio of underwriting expenses to net earned premium. Okay? In the event of sorry for that. In the event of high expense ratio relative to the net earned premium, naturally the profitability would go down. The profitability would go down. The higher the expense ratio, the lower the profitability would be. The higher the expense ratio, the lower the profitability would be. Underwriting expenses, these are the expenses expenses related in processing the insurance at the time of sale. So, ano yung mga babayaran ng insurance company? The insurance company might be the one to shoulder the medical examination. The insurance company will have to pay for the underwriter's services. These are underwriting expenses divided by net earned premium. We call this the expense ratio. Loss ratio, on the other hand, is the ratio of claims expense. Claims are the benefits that you would get when the unfortunate event happens. When you die, it's the claims which will go to your family. When your car got severely damaged, you can claim the claims. Claims expenses over net earned premium. This is the loss ratio. Unlike the expense ratio, which is more predictable, the loss ratio is not as predictable. Kunyari, car insurance that includes natural disasters. In the events of flooding, just like last week, in the event of severe flooding, just like last week, we would expect that there would be many people who will be making a claim on vehicular insurance. So it's claims expense over net earned premium. So underwriting expense is related to the processing of the insurance in order to have it sold. Claims expenses, when the unfortunate event happens, the insurance company would distribute the claims to whoever is entitled. The combined operating ratio is the sum of the expense ratio and the loss ratio. Combined operating ratio is the sum of expense and loss ratios. Underwriting expense plus claims expenses divided by the net earned premium. Okay? This is the combined operating ratio, COR. Then we have the insurance margin, which is the insurance profit divided by the net earned premium. Insurance profit divided by the net earned premium. Then the RBC2 ratio, this is complicated. This is similar to the capital adequacy ratio of banks. The RBC2 ratio is very much similar to the capital adequacy ratio for banks. This is the total average capital divided by the RBC requirement. Total average capital divided by the RBC requirement. Okay? So, before I let you calculate these ratios, I will explain further the reasoning behind each calculation. What we can do is to, RBC2 ratio is like CAR, but more complex. What we can do next first is to explain the revenue calculation of an insurance company. Okay? What is the net revenue of an insurance company? We call it the net earned premium. The net earned premium is the net revenue, the net sales revenue for an insurance company. I would like to explain this concept first before we proceed to calculations. I will give you an example. Okay? For example, the insurance company has sold to you insurance. Okay? The premium is 12,000. Okay? The premium is 12,000. Covered for 1 year. 12,000 covered for 1 year. Now, assuming today is November 1, you gave 12,000 to the insurance company. Assuming today is November 1, my question will be, for this year ending December 31, how much revenues did the insurance company generated? How much revenues did the insurance company generated? The insurance company has charged you a premium of 12,000. Today is November 1, assuming today is November 1. Then at the year end, December 31, how much of it is already earned by the insurance company? Okay, anyone? I'll give you some time to answer. Okay, anyone? Anyone, please? Okay, very good, Miss Uy. The correct answer is 2,000 pesos. So let me repeat the case, ha? The insurance company has charged you 12,000 pesos. Okay? 12,000 pesos. If today is November 1, by year end, December 31, 2 months has already passed. The 12,000 pesos will be covered, will be the amount paid for 1 year. Sabi ko, di ba, 1 year. 12,000 divided by 12 months, then multiply it by 2 months, November and December, the last 2 months in the year. So, that would be 2,000 pesos. Okay? Another example. Let's say that what I just described as 12K is the gross written premium. Again, let me give another example. Let me give another example. Gross written premium, GWP, that's the annual premium sold, 12,000 pesos. January to December. Okay? The gross earned premium is 12,000 pesos. Again, when the gross written premium is sold on January, what would happen? That entire 12,000 pesos will be considered earned. Because if it is sold on January 1, 1 year will mean the entire year, from January to December. By year end, the entire 12,000 will be considered earned. The entire 12,000 will be considered earned. What if it was sold on October? What if it was sold on October? So 12,000 divided by October, November, December. Okay? The gross earned premium will be magkano? Kung October 1 to. The gross earned premium will be 3,000 pesos. Okay? 12,000 divided by 12 months multiplied by 3 months from October to December. Okay? So, I hope we are clear about the gross earned premium. Okay? I hope we're clear about the gross earned premium. Next, what we are going to calculate is the net earned premium. Net earned premium. This is gross earned premium minus reinsurance expense. Gross earned premium minus reinsurance expense. Okay? Gross earned premium minus reinsurance expense. That's the net earned premium. What is reinsurance expense? Some insurance companies, they need to insure what they insured. Nakuha nyo? So, insuranceception to, no? Insuranceception. They need to insure what they are insuring. Example, if they entered into a contract that they're going to cover a very large amount for a very important person, and they feel that they cannot shoulder it on their own, they can bring in other insurance companies. They will have to pay reinsurance expense. Okay? Net earned premium is equal to gross earned premium minus reinsurance expense. So, summary lang ha. What they charge you for a year, what they charge the insured for the year, is what we call the gross written premium. The annual premium that is sold. Let's say it's 12,000. This is the amount written in the policy that they are going to cover for 1 year. The coverage of your claims for 1 year. Gross written premium. If they sold it on January 1, by December 31, it is totally earned. 100% of 12,000, 12,000. Okay? Binenta ng insurance company January 1. By December 31, it is already earned. Wala na silang obligasyon after that. But if they sold on October 1, by year end, say December 31, October to December, out of the 12,000 that they charge, they were able to serve you only for 1/4 of the time. Why 1/4? Because 3 months out of 12 months has just passed. October, November, December, 9 more months to go. 3/12 or 1/4, that's 12,000 times 3/12, 3,000 pesos. This is what we call the gross earned premium. From gross written premium, you may calculate the gross earned premium by looking at the amount of the gross written premium that is already serviced. Lumipas na ba yung panahon na covered itong amount? Okay? Deduct the reinsurance expense from the gross earned premium. Deduct the reinsurance expense from the gross earned premium. We would have the net earned premium. In other words, gross earned premium minus reinsurance expense, the amount of premiums that they pay for other insurance companies, okay? We call it net earned premium. Okay? I want you to answer the following. Okay. So I'm going to prepare a separate discussion. In Canvas. This will be due if you are doing good. If you're doing good, I highly appreciate it if you will give it to me before 7:30. But if you're having difficulties in the connection, I will leave the discussion open. Until Wednesday next week. Ayan ha, until Wednesday next week. Okay ba tayo? I want you to answer this. Please take a screenshot. Answer this, handwritten na lang ha. Take a picture and then upload your solutions and answers to the discussion that I'm going to prepare. Do you have any questions? Okay, wala nang question?